right, peace and blessings, peace and blessings. Assalamu alaikum, shalom, welcome, everyone. We are back, and our topic today that we're talking about, the uniform and the noose, the paradox of Black patriotism. As we know, America is currently at war with Iran, a war that, in my estimation, shouldn't be happening, but it is happening. So they are talking about many, many things. And one of the things that Trump has talked about is a draft. A draft so that they can draft people in because they ain't got enough soldiers to fight. Luckily, and I don't know how true it is, but there's only been 7 American casualties at this point. Others are saying that it has to be more than 7, but hey, officially we only see 7. One thing that we have to look at when we're dealing with war is, what do Black people get out of it? We have fought in every war, every conflict that America had. And what did we really get? We're going to deal with those things today. We're going to deal with also, for me, as a former service member, one thing that really gets under my skin now, it didn't used to while I was in the military, but, people would say to me, Doc, thank you for your service. And the other day when somebody said it to me, I stopped and I said to myself, what service did you get? What service did any American get from any war or conflict that America has taken a part in? It is not like, it refreshed the tree of liberty, quote unquote. I think that the Civil War, and correct me if I'm wrong, Doc, but the Civil War is the only war that we got something out of. I don't know of any other war that we got something out of. The American Revolution, we didn't get nothing out of that one. And that was for those other folks. But since that war and the Civil War, I don't see anything that the common everyday man and woman has gotten. And so we're getting geared up to begin again sending people off to die, in my estimation, for no reason whatsoever. What's your thoughts on that, Doc?
Well, listening to what you just said, when we're talking about the payoff for wars, I think that we have to be very, very, very careful in regards to isolating Black rewards. I'll say it that way. And expand the discussion to the common man in general. And I think that clears some things up a little bit more and kind of sharpens our lens in regards to the Black experience in the war, as well as what's the fallout, what was the benefit for the war. And of course, we have to separate it from tangible to intangible gains. Listening to you, what you just talked about, when we talk about the American Revolution, I would disagree that our people didn't get anything. And by our people, I mean persons of African descent who were forced here, or their ancestors were forced here through the transatlantic slave trade. If you go back and you look at it, many of the individuals who served in the American side are going to receive freedom. Those who served on the British side, and the name that is coming up in my mind right now as I think about this is Lord Dunmore. Lord Dunmore's army, which was a British unit, and they were fighting for the maintaining of the original deal, which is quite simply these colonists are supposed to be British subjects, and their entire purpose for existing is to enrich investors, and they're to serve at the behest of the crown. And of course, we have the whole argument of no taxation without representation, and we have the response from Britain, which quite simply says you have virtual representation because you are British subjects. Any decision that we make is aimed at benefiting you as well. It's benefiting the mother country as well as all of her subjects. Those who fought on with Lord Dunmore's army, and it's a very funny story surrounding this population of Black folk that Oprah Winfrey is involved in. They were promised freedom as well, and they received freedom as well. The problem is that they didn't read the fine print or negotiate close enough, because they were under the impression if Britain is saying that they're going to free you, that you would be deposited in Britain. That's not what happened. And that's the reason why it was a flippant quip that Oprah Winfrey made during one of her shows. And what she says is, there are no Black people in Nova Scotia. And so you have all of these Black folk who are the descendants of people who fought on the side of the British, who are going to film themselves, and they're going to send in their films to the Oprah Winfrey show to prove that there are Black people in Nova Scotia. And how did they get there? They got their freedom as a result of their participation on the British side with the American Revolution. In regards to the U.S. Civil War, what I'll say is the benefit was the establishment of the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment. Now, the law is one thing, and it's one of the reasons when I talk to my students, I ask them, do you believe that you're free? And invariably they say, well, equal. Do you believe that Black people are equal to white people in this nation? Invariably they say no. But I challenge them and I say, name me one law that white people have that Black people don't have. That is a question that I refer to as a trap question, because there is no special law for white folk versus Black folk. However, the application of that law is something that was totally different. So the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment are in many ways curtailed. The one war that I would say that Black folk really received something from, and it was due to their own energies and activism and what have you, it would be World War II. We learned from World War I that we needed to continue to fight when we came back because of the Red Summer of 1919. They were lynching Black soldiers in the streets of America. We call it, the Red Summer. Mm-hmm. After World War II, we have Charles Hamilton Houston, and the other key figure that is often forgotten during recreations of this moment is going to be A. Philip Randolph. Randolph was a labor man, and Houston was a legal scholar. They're going to lead the charge that leads us to Black equality that we get on paper once again with LBJ signing the Civil Rights Act of 64 and the Voting Rights Act of 65. And then we're going to have another round of legislation come 68 as well. So I would argue that those are the things that you received. However, there is no easy way to talk about, when you're talking about the Black experience, the application of what's put down on paper. You can't legislate people's behavior, people's worldview, and what have you. And you also shouldn't separate what the common man received on both sides of the racial divide, the Black side and the white side. And when you're looking at World War II, probably the greatest benefit, there is no probably to it, the greatest benefit that we received after, and I'm talking about white men after World War II was the GI Bill. And they're going to utilize that GI Bill to actually go to college. And ironically, it'll be the GI Bill that will allow many of them and their children to avoid compulsory service through the draft that you were talking about earlier. And I yield with that, brother.
Now, Doc, I want to go back and touch on that because both of those, especially World War II, you talked about the GI Bill. And that's true. You know, people got GI Bill, blacks and whites. But the thing about that with the GI Bill, it was largely denied to black veterans.
Yes.
Through
yes. And that's,
the local discriminatory practices.
Without a doubt.
So
that's why I highlighted that white men. That's the thing that really boosted them up. Was that GI Bill, and it's something that you have to measure the benefits. You can't just measure the benefits by saying what black folk did or did not get. Compare it against what white folk got, and that'll give you like a highlight. And so the GI Bill is one of the most glaring injustices that happened coming out of the World War II.
Definitely. And so the problem that we have as a people going to give our lives for a country that really don't give shit for you. They don't fight for you.
Let me ask you this. Who determines America's values?
Americans.
Because when you say that America doesn't care anything about you, whose values are being represented in that statement?
White Americans, because they're the ones who control America.
Okay. Now you're saying white Americans. Is that all of them, or is that a sort of a subset of them? Because there are many white folk who are no better off in regards to their daily existence, or in regards to what they receive from wars. That their payoff is very similar to black folk. Go ahead.
That could be their lot.
Yes.
But because they go by what the color of their skin is and they go by their whiteness, they don't see that they have much in common with the everyday black man or woman, that they're on the same poverty level. They don't see that. They see their whiteness as their badge of honor, their badge of I'm better than you. So therefore, that makes me on the winning team and you're on the losing team. It's just like when you're dealing with old Skip Gates, and we remember what happened to Skip Gates. Now this man, he the president buddy. He the president buddy. But here you have this police officer, this low budget police officer, rent-a-cop, who disrespects Skip Gates and arrests him for breaking into his own house. Now, even Skip can say, I can prove this is my house. But his rich words, his culture, his education didn't mean a damn thing when it came to that cop saying, no, nigga, this ain't your house. And because this ain't your house and I don't like how you talking to me, I'm taking your ass to jail. And then what did his friend, the president, the most powerful man in the world, what did he do? He got up there and said, well, I think the police acted stupidly. And what do people police do? Low level, another white man, low level. He get out there. You don't be saying that the police acted stupid. We did our job. You should apologize. So, no matter how big you are with your skin color being black, you can be the lowest on the low totem pole white man. And you still have authority to tell that black man, I'm going to take your ass to jail, nigga, and it ain't a damn thing you going to do about it. You don't own this house because I say you don't own this house.
See, as I told you, I'll be at a conference, Black Studies Conference this coming week. And when this incident happened with Gates, there was kind of a joke that historians who knew Gates and know his politics and I guess his personal life and his leanings or what have you. And they were saying things like, man, that's Gates's fault. Because when the officer asked him to prove that this was his house, they said, now you asked me to prove if my house is my house. He said, I can walk you straight into my house and I can point to not only myself, but also my family, this, and that. And the joke that they would tell and they would laugh, they said, the problem is that Gates ain't got no black people in his house. He ain't got no pictures of no black folk. And that's what sunk him. So, I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what many people were saying behind his back and really having a good old uproarious laughter at Gates. Yeah.
And this thing that we have to deal with, because it's like you said, and you're correct about that. The laws on the book don't say white folk, don't say black folk.
Yeah.
It don't say nothing like that. So the law is this, and this is the law of the land. But when it's applied, it ain't applied equally.
Yeah, I mean, that's what that great poet of the name of O'Shea Jackson said, Ice Cube, in one of his earlier albums. He says, you better duck because the book is coming. So just pass your car keys over to your woman. Because if you're black and you're going in front of a judge, you're going to jail. And it's just what it is. That every study after study has proven that black folk receive harsher sentences than other groups do. But when you're talking about the awesome power that follows behind whiteness, it makes it very difficult to, number one, expect fairness, but it also makes it almost impossible for you to have any semblance of significant patriotism. Because for the majority of white folk, I'll say it this way, that for the majority of them, patriotism is merely a euphemism for white power in the support of a white worldview. And the moment that you disagree with that, they have the capital to label you as unpatriotic. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I tell people often is that I'm not conceding anything. And I mean, I'm not conceding anything to them. America is my land. And I dictate how I view America. I don't give them that power because I recognize the sacrifice, the blood, and what have you of this nation. Yet at the exact same time, James Baldwin said it this way. He says, I love America more than any other nation, any other country in the world. And that's why I criticize her. So we have to get to a point where we understand that a little bit of rebellion is good for the soul of a nation. It's the suppression of that renewal factor that should scare everyone tremendously, but it doesn't, because it often benefits them immeasurably.
Definitely. During the Civil War, for the North, over 180,000 black men served in the United States colored troops. They faced constant threat of being sold into slavery,
yes,
or executed if captured by the Confederacy.
Yes.
And we have to understand, you're fighting on the North side, and they will threaten that they're going to sell your behind into slavery.
Yes.
And then when we look at the outcome, their service was definitely instrumental in the Union's victory
Certainly.
and the passage of the 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment.
Mm-hmm.
The post-war period saw that the rise of the Black Codes and the KKK
Mm-hmm.
effectively stripping away many of those hard-won rights, many of those hard-won gains,
Mm-hmm.
stripped. And this is what I say when we're understanding what did we get. The minute that they can tell you, oh, if you don't do this right, we're going to sell you behind the slavery. Or the minute the war is over and you think you've achieved something, and then they let the Black Codes come in, they let the KKK come in, you know, they do the, what is it called? The grand betrayal,
Mm-hmm.
and just say, to hell with it, you know, let them do what they do.
Yeah,
That's something that has to be taken in consideration when we're thinking about going to give our lives for a nation that has not changed. It has not changed.
Yeah, but I mean, when you say a nation that has not changed, you're talking about a mentality, a worldview, the fact that whiteness is actually a drug that they become addicted to, and they have no compulsion, no desire whatsoever to divorce themselves from it. That's one thing. But what history teaches us that we need to really pay significant attention to is this: freedom cost. Freedom is violent. And you're dealing with people who are not only interested in being free, but they're interested in expanding their privilege, be it racial, be it economic, or what have you. And until you really take a true history, a true look at American history, and see that all of the progress was violent, all of it. The establishment of this nation was violent. When they sent you to Vietnam, you had to be violent. It reminds me of Malcolm, when Malcolm says, how is it that when you were over in Vietnam, you were so violent, but when you come back here, you're going to be meek as a lamb?
Mm-hmm.
We have to have an understanding of what our place is and where we want to go. And you're going to have to fight not only in regards to preventing a regression of our people being pushed back politically, economically, socially, but you're also going to have to fight for the expansion and the extension of your rights and your placement. The problem, one of the significant problems within Black America, it is not that we are afraid of violence. It's that our violence is not informed by political understanding. As Fred Hampton said, that politics is nothing but war without violence, and war is nothing but politics with violence. We're using violence on each other, and we're failing to recognize that when they build and this is how the majority of Black historic neighborhoods were destroyed. They'll run a highway straight through your neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
Destroy. That's violence.
Mm-hmm.
You need to be violent, not just in the streets against your own people. You need to be violent in regards to where you use your dollar. You need to show some violence in regards to where you stay, what you will stand for and what you will not stand for. You need to show some defiance in every area. So when you're talking about the idea of patriotism in Black folk, yes, we have historically been patriotic, but we've been patriotic without self-interest attached to it. And those days have to end. You can't continue to go the way that you're going. No one is as John Henry Clark said, no one's coming to save you. And so you need to somehow wash your brain, clean your spirit, and recognize who your friends are, who your allies are, and behave accordingly. And anyone that you come across who is not behaving in that manner, I don't care what their religion is, I don't care what their gender is, their sexual identity, whatever division that you want to utilize, they're of no use to us. And they should be shunned and sent out, and let them go live where they want to live.
And you know, one thing about that, and I agree, violence is the way to freedom. Mm-hmm. But we're taught to be nonviolent. We're taught to be. We're taught to be. We're taught by our so-called leaders, by the school institutions that we go through. We are trained to be nonviolent. We are taught peaceful protest. Let's do peaceful protest. Let's don't tear nothing up. Don't burn nothing up. Be peaceful.
No. Hold on. If that's the message that our people are getting from American leaders, mm-hmm. they ain't paying attention.
Oh, they are paying attention.
They're not paying attention. If that's the message that they're getting, they need to pay attention to, remember the adage of do as I say, not as I do. You need to abandon that. Mm-hmm. And you need to pay attention to what they're doing. The Middle East is on fire right now. Why? Mm-hmm. Violence. Politically directed violence. Just mm-hmm. call it what it is. That was you're killing leaders, and your quote unquote president, your leaders are actually saying, we don't care who they elect, who mm-hmm. they select to be their next leader. He ain't gonna live long if we don't approve of him. Mm-hmm. Is that not? That's public. Mm-hmm. That wasn't said behind closed doors. What, you'd be scared to know what they said behind closed doors. Mm-hmm. If that's the refined message that they came out with. Well, no, don't say that you're gonna drop a nuclear bomb on them. Just say we're gonna kill whoever they select. Mm-hmm. Ha ha ha. And put a Grand Theft Auto video together for them so they can see it, because we can do it again and again and again, and that's violence. I don't know who you listening to that could convince you that this is not a violent nation, that this is not a nation where you got to protect yourself. Mm-hmm. And if you don't, you'll be a slave or dead mm-hmm. soon.
Mm-hmm. Most definitely, and that's the thing. They don't teach us. They don't teach. They don't even teach this to the public, that you have to be violent with your government to get what you want. They don't teach that. They teach you got the right to protest, but it must be peaceful. There can't be no violence, because we got to have law and order. Mm-hmm. We can't disrupt business, because business has to keep going and do what do. But you can't be out here destroying shit. You can't be out here tearing stuff up, because now you're being un-American.
But you're looking, you're going to accept some advice, some teachings from the people who are oppressing you. That makes absolutely positive. No. I'm talking about people in general.
Our people have accepted.
That is absolutely positively backwards and asinine. Mm-hmm. And once again, as a man thinketh, so is he. Stop sending your children to learn those lessons. Mm-hmm. And that's really what it comes down to. Mm-hmm. The idea that do as I say, not as I've done, will continue to get you marginalized and oppressed. Mm-hmm. Exactly. You better be prepared to protect your community. You better start developing an understanding of what community actually is. This is 2026. And we're talking about the exact same things that we were talking about in 1806, about forming a community, protecting that community. Because your mind has been stripped down to its very last compound. You won't even defend yourself. Look at what they do when they disagree with the Who won the presidency? With Joe Biden winning, what did they do? They didn't form arms around Washington D.C., hold hands, and sing "Kumbaya." No, they went into that house, and it's hard for me to comprehend how they got that message, and your cowardly self act like you ain't never heard it or seen it before. It's right there in front of you. We talk about George Washington. How do you not get from the story of George Washington violence? How do you not get the political opportunism that comes off of any story about Thomas Jefferson? It's right there in front of you. There comes a time where we have to really accept that a lot of this stuff that we're seeing from our people and our leaders and the followers is cowardice. That you're afraid of these people. Let's just go ahead and say it. That, and one of my very good friends, Mario Martin, he uses this term. He works with the youth, and he said, when I look at brothers who have their pants sagging and all of that going on, he said, I call it the look of the defeated, because you're not even willing to enter the arena. You do all that wild talk, you talk that stuff about what you gonna do and this and that, and you're afraid to even appear to do combat with them. So there's no hope when you're dealing with that, because you're dealing with rank cowardice. And the people are, let's call it what it is, they're not uncomfortable enough. And until they get uncomfortable enough, they're not going to do anything.
You know, Doc, you said this earlier. You said, you'll be dead if you keep following this, and this. You'll be dead. And see, this is the problem with our people. They are dead, and we know dead people can't think. And this is why when I watched parts of Jesse Jackson's funeral, and I'm looking at nothing but dead people, because they're not thinking. They're stuck in a time zone that benefited them nothing. And they don't want to move beyond that to go really get something, because they're afraid. Dead people can't think. Dead people can't do. Dead people stay dead. And this is the problem that we have even with our quote unquote leadership. They're dead.
Yeah, but you have to, you got to ask yourself, what are the requirements for being a Black leader? What are they? And the best that I can tell is that the most expeditious way to becoming a Black leader is actually getting on MSNBC or CNN, maybe Fox if you want to be on the conservative side. Your leadership is not authentic, because your leadership does not have your best interest at heart. Your leadership is actually trying to escape away from you as far as they can. They're going to protect their money. This is a capitalist nation. They understand that. And as long as you don't offend anyone, as long as you don't offend the wrong people, you're going to be all right. You're going to make some money. You're going to be able to retire to wherever you want to retire and live a luxurious life. Individualism. That's what our people are getting out of these grand examples of what you should be focused on. And the idea of collectivism for our people far too often is a foreign concept. Foreign concept to them. And they're not, I know some brothers who are able to work with each other, but they're few and far between. There are many more brothers that I know who they ain't ready, and they ain't gonna never be ready to uplift Black folk.
Exactly. I think, and that's a very good question that you brought up. What is the things that you should have? What are the requirements of becoming a Black leader or being a Black leader? And I think you have to have the historical grounding, the tactical discipline, and a deep, unshakable love for our people, that you won't sell our people out to be on MSNBC, to be somebody that's keep calling to Fox News to say, come on, let's hear you. The biggest thing that Jesse achieved in his life was to speak before the DNC. That was his biggest achievements in his life. That meant something in his world, in his reality, in his view.
Certainly.
And we got to get beyond that. We're legitimizing bastards. That's exactly what we're doing. We're legitimizing bastards. There's no way. There's no way in the world should they be called leaders. There just ain't no way. Not for us. W.E.B. Du Bois, he said that Black people should close ranks and support the war effort, believing that proving loyalty on the battlefield would end Jim Crow.
Yeah. Well, no, I got to defend my brother. Let me defend Du Bois and what he was actually thinking. This was a war that would be fought by immigrants. World War I. It's just what it was. We understood that service in World War I would take a German transplant to America. He had to serve because it's being looked at as a litmus test. This will measure your patriotism. Okay. Du Bois didn't want Black folk to miss out on that. That this would be the war to make Americans. And so he's operating out of that we can come up, but that viewpoint kind of very similar to, and this is why people who know Du Bois, we refer to him as the old man. Du Bois tried everything. Okay. But Du Bois, like the Talented 10th, Du Bois abandons the Talented 10th within 90 days of him saying it. Okay. The service of Black men in World War I, he's going to abandon that within 2 weeks because it becomes very clear to him that they got us digging latrines, service and supply units. They're not going to allow us to fight unless it gets really dire. And he backs off of what he had said. The problem is that document, that letter, Du Bois's writings were always prominent in Black newspapers, so they still exist. But he abandons that within 2 weeks of saying it because it becomes very clear to him that that's not going to be the way. It's not going to be the way. And go and look at Du Bois's letter that he wrote titled "Returning Soldiers," because that Returning Soldiers letter is going to be the one that in every way represents what Du Bois is thinking during the war and after the war. That when you return, you better return fighting. And that is in many ways the mantra that we're going to see from Charles Hamilton Houston and Asa Philip Randolph when you're looking at the Double V campaign, that Black soldiers need to be talking about victory abroad and victory at home. So that's where that thrust for World War II actually comes from.
All right, excellent. And I'll definitely take a look at that. But the thing I say, I have to ask the question, well, did he think about it before he even let it out his mouth? If he just a week later says, "Oh man, I shouldn't have said that."
Well, I mean, he's dealing with there's a lot of things that are surrounding Du Bois that colored that belief, and one of them is Du Bois being one of the few black folk who were involved with the founding and the operation of the NAACP. Du Bois is the principal writer for the Crisis magazine, the NAACP's literary organ. So his writings are very prominent in public, and it appeared, and I can see what he thought, that the nation is going to war, so all hands on deck. And if you, it's ironically the Washingtonian belief that you can out good or excellent or supreme racism. That you have that thought that, listen, if we do these things, then we'll be able to lift ourselves up, because you have to remember that when that's going on, that's 1915. Black folk are just now half a century out of the chains of slavery. 1865 to 1915, 50-year period, exactly. But those hopes will be extinguished in that period between 1915 and 1940, 1941, with the outbreak of World War II, because we learned from that experience that regardless of what you do, you're going to have to fight them to get somewhere. They're never going to just allow you to walk in. I always wondered what happened to this cat, because he actually got put out of the PhD program at Ohio State during one of our classes, the first class that we met with Dr. Joan Cashin. We're talking about history in general. And he makes this point that the reason that Black people receive their rights, and this in many ways ties into what many educators are learning in these white centers of thought. He said the reason that Black folk received their equality in the post-World War II period was due to what white folks saw during the Jewish Holocaust. And so when we come back stateside, they just gifted us our rights. And I remember looking at him and saying, "Do you really believe that?" And he said, "Yeah, I believe that. That's what happened." And it took Joan Cashin, the professor, to say, "No, that ain't what happened." And I said, "Have you ever heard of the civil rights movement?" And he said, "Oh my God, yeah, I forgot all about that." How are you in a PhD program and you're wholly unaware of the civil rights movement? And make no mistake about it, the civil rights movement, despite Dr. King's public relations campaign of nonviolent civil disobedience, it was one of the most violent moments in this nation's history. Period. There's no other way to even look at the civil rights movement as anything other than rife with violence.
That type of violence on a whole different level, to be very honest, that our people suffered through. We've taken too many beatings to be just upright. We've taken too many beatings. And right quickly before we go to our first video, I want to welcome Earth Angel to the program. Peace and blessings, Queen. We are glad you're here. Earth Angel talks about the white professor Mike that said, if you teach them to use the back door, you won't have to tell them again. They'll use it going forward.
You know the irony of that right there. Number one, Carter G. Woodson said that in The Miseducation of the Negro. But my best friend, he actually goes to that school that he teaches at that school where the lady said that. And what's happening is that the school he teaches at is being ejected from one school, and they're putting another, New York City. They move schools around or whatever open space they have. And the black students and black parents are upset at another school that their school is being dismantled. And she made that comment right there, but she also said that black folk are too stupid to realize when their school has failed them and their children. And I guess there's something, there's something that could be said for that. But the thing that you ultimately are left with over and over and over again is the undeniable reality that you're allowing other people to pour into your children. And your children are coming out, as my Uncle Richard would say, ziggity boo crazy. You want to know why black children are unruly? Look at their teacher.
Definitely. So our first video that we're going to watch and then come back and discuss is going to deal with the 369th Infantry, the Harlem Hellfighters.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go ahead and share this. Oh, and before I do that, let me not forget to welcome Mac 285. Peace and blessings, Mac. We're glad you're here.
Go ahead and ask Mac if he had any of them turkey wings.
And big brother Willie Rivers, peace and blessings, big bro.
I was so glad when they shut the turkey leg hut down. I said, yeah, it serves his black ass right.
And we also want to welcome big brother Willie Rivers to the program. Peace and blessings, big bro. We're glad y'all are here. Now let's share this real quick and come back and discuss it.
The Harlem Hellfighters was a regiment of New York National Guardsmen in the First World War. They were set up to fail by their own government. They were humiliated, degraded, eventually given to the French army as a throwaway. And they ended up coming home as one of the most decorated units in the entire U.S. Army.
The Harlem Hellfighters are one of the most important regiments in American history. In World War I, they helped to establish to the entire world the power of black soldiers in the military.
It was very difficult at that time for African Americans to get into the United States military because there was this perception that African Americans would not do well in battle. They had to overcome the prejudice of their own countrymen and yet also perform ably on the battlefield.
Like so many units of African American descent, when they go overseas, they're not sure what they're going to do. Are they going to fight as infantry? Or are they going to be stevedores and load ships? Or are they going to be labor units and cut wood?
And so they're committed to labor duty, they're unloading ships, building latrines, those type of support services. And as you can imagine, these men have been trained and they're willing to fight, they're ready to fight, and this is stressful for them.
They were finally given to the French army, which in a way was an even greater insult because in the First World War, when the United States entered, General Pershing, the commanding officer, was very clear that American forces would not be fed piecemeal into the French and British army because the French and British wanted reinforcements. And Pershing said, absolutely not. When Americans join this war, they will fight as an American force under an American flag led by an American general. ... Except for the black guys. You can have them.
Henry Johnson is perhaps one of the most remarkable black military heroes in U.S. history.
And he found himself in no man's land with Private Needham Roberts manning a listening post.
And Needham Roberts hears click, click, click. He realizes somebody's cutting the wire. It's potentially a German raid.
And so Roberts is passing him grenades and they line up these grenades and the Germans actually do come across the lines. Roberts is hurt and now Henry Johnson is left to defend their position and to stave off this attack. And then he makes the mistake of jamming a French cartridge into his American gun, and it no longer will work. And the Germans are on top of it.
He then used his rifle like a club, and then he ended up fighting with a knife against the Kaiser's best and turned them.
He's wounded in the fray. He's struck, for example, in the foot, and has a debilitating injury as a result. And he fights them off, he says, for what seemed like an hour.
The Germans ran shrieking into the night, all because of one man.
It's not until the next morning that people realize what a tremendous act this was. They discover 4 bodies of dead German soldiers. And they also realize from the equipment and other things that are left behind that as many as 30 may have been involved in this altercation.
As soon as he drove off those Germans, the French awarded him with the Croix de Guerre, a great honor. Unfortunately, it took about 75 years for the US government to give him the Legion of Merit. Had he been white, he would have walked out of that war with the Medal of Honor. What was so shocking to me when I began to research the story of the Hellfighters was that after they had performed so magnificently in combat, the United States government actually sent a memorandum to the French government, essentially implementing Jim Crow, essentially saying, don't give them some notion that they are equals, because we don't want them taking that notion back to the United States and demanding equality.
When he come back to the United States, he's not awarded the Purple Heart. There's no notation in his military record of his injury. And so he winds up not being able to work because of this injury. He doesn't get any kind of assistance from the army or from the government as a result. And he ends up dying in 1929 penniless. So it again shows the paradox. Here's this great story of valor and of courage on the part of this soldier. And ultimately, he comes back to a nation that doesn't honor that sacrifice.
We tend to think we all know American history so well that the story of the Harlem Hellfighters should be one of the first stories told. It wasn't about killing other people, it was about being Americans and serving their country well. That was the inclination of the Harlem Hellfighters.
When you are African American in 1917, democracy is armor. Democracy is a weapon. And to fight for a war to make the world safe for democracy was something more than just some ethereal crusade for the Hellfighters. It had concrete results. They were fighting for the rights to be a citizen of the country that they were born in.
All right, and that was the Harlem Hellfighters, and they never lost a battle. They never lost ground, and I believe, if I'm correct, they're the only unit that could actually say that they never lost a battle, that they never lost ground, and that is a hell of an accomplishment, especially in a war zone. Listening to that, after all of their heroics, that the government of America would actually send the French government a message after you done said, no, you don't want them wearing your uniform, go ahead and put them in the French uniform. They're not worthy to wear ours. And then tell them, make sure that they stay separate. Don't let them have the thought that they're equal with white people.
Yeah,
See,
I mean,
it's from the top on down, Doc.
I don't dispute that at all. I don't dispute that at all. I mean, the truth of the matter is that you're dealing with a peculiar mentality and monster when you're dealing with American whites. They're not even the same as Europeans. And if you ask Europeans, they'll tell you that American whites are not their kind. They're not their kind of people, to be honest with you. You're dealing with a people who have had a racial identity that has been mishmashed together to the point where their ethnic identity has to be hidden. It's very similar to what you'll see when you talk to Nigerians, you talk to some Africans, and you ask them, who are you? They'll say, I'm Nigerian. Well, if you press them a little bit further, they may say, I'm Igbo, I'm this, I'm that. That's kind of what whiteness is. That when you're in this land right here, you're white. And you inherit all of the historical stink that comes with that name, despite your attempt to separate yourself from it. Yet when you go back to the old country, now you're Irish, now you're Polish, now you're Italian. You want to ride along the countryside, you want to enjoy from whence your forefathers come. Yet when you make it back on the other side of the Atlantic, you're white again. So it's a very peculiar mentality, worldview, and it's one that, to be honest with you, will never go anywhere in this nation, because it's something that the youth are inundated with and indoctrinated with. And we've seen so many generations. We saw in the 1960s, you had the hippies, the that was like, yeah, we're gonna be different from our parents. By the time they hit 30, they was just like their parents.
Mm-hmm.
Hip hop has seen the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm.
It is possible for white kids to enjoy hip hop. Hell, I know a lot of white kids who love Public Enemy,
Mm-hmm.
but it's just music to them. It's not protest music in regards to freeing Black America. It's a more social and cultural type of thing for them. So I'm not surprised at all. The historical record, when you look at the Black experience, it's a hell of a predicament to be put in. That you're a part of a nation that in many ways has a ceiling in regards to how far they will allow you to go. Yet will vilify you if you do not support them in their machine, which is maintaining how far you can go. It's an extreme irony,
Mm-hmm.
and one that, how do we handle it? I don't know.
And to think that, or to put it in its proper context,
Mm-hmm.
that when they came home from war, and again, they never lost a battle, never gave up ground. They spent more time in continuous combat than any American unit.
Mm-hmm.
Top of the line, top of the top, best you got, and America still wouldn't own the right and say, yeah, they with us. So they returned. They returned, and then they had to deal with the summer of 1919, the Red Summer, where white mobs threatened by the sight of seeing Black men in uniform.
Yeah,
Black men in uniform gave them fear, gave them like, oh, what, the nigga think he better than me? Oh, he think he the same as me?
But let's situate that within the historical record. I like the way that you said it. You said that white folk, when they came back, white folk were looking at them. The thing is that World War II, like Du Bois said, it will be the war to make Americans. Yet at the exact same time, it's also the war that led to the disappearance of the Irish, the Polish, the Russians, the Italians, these new immigrants. They disappear. And they're repackaged and reformed as white folk. The rallying cry, the flag that they're going to assemble under is hatred of Black folk. It's what Malcolm was talking about when he said the first word that the immigrants learned when they hit Ellis Island is nigga. So hatred of us becomes the bonding agent for this 57 flavors of Europeans that have come to this nation. So now that's going to be their path to being white. So we have to be very clear in regards to, there are several pivotal moments in regards to the development of racial dynamics in America. One of them is Bacon's Rebellion during colonial society, where all these poor people are going to join together, and the crown is going to break that up and start emphasizing the difference between Black and white folk. because there was no difference in colonial society to that point. They were all dogs. And one of the other more prominent ones is post-World War I, where these new immigrants who have gone to fight for their nation, that they're Johnny-come-latelys to, are going to be welcomed into the under the umbrella of whiteness, because let's be very clear, there's strength in numbers. And if they can convince these new immigrants that they're actually white and that that's the path that they should follow and go and rally behind, well, they're going to control the nation for a long time. Now, yield, brother.
Yes, sir. And so I think it's important that our people understand, and not just because look at for y'all white folks that's watching, you're getting a very good education. You're getting a very good education, a quality education, so that you'll be able to see and understand exactly what is meant when we're discussing the paradox of Black patriotism,
Mm-hmm.
and understanding from which we're talking about. So, like we said, when the soldiers from World War I, the Black ones came home, and whites saw them in their uniform, they were threatened. That now the nigga gonna be better than me. So they got violent, and start lynching them in their very uniforms. Now these men fought the best, bravely, the best. And then they came home back to Jim Crow. Lynchings ran ruckus throughout the country. Veterans were targeted, and they were told, we're going to put you back in your place.
Certainly.
We're going to put you back in your place. This is what a war hero gets welcomed with at home. And I also want to welcome Emerald Jules to the program. Peace and blessings, Queen. We're glad that you're here.
Yeah, but you also have to situate what's happening in the post-World War II period within the ending of a world that white and new immigrant males had. It was a time where they could be men. They could be a man's man, because women were largely not working, so they were wholly dependent upon them to provide their material subsistence. In saying that world is ending, you have to think that when the war breaks out, Black folk are still, by and large, overwhelmingly in the South. So when these new immigrants leave their ethnic neighborhoods, Bensonhurst, these very, Little Italy, wherever you found that in America. By the time they come back, Black folk are in those neighborhoods and in those areas. So a part of it is coming out of xenophobia, a fear and hatred of Black folk, and the fact that they just came back from a war and they just continue that war. They're going to be ultra violent, but only towards Black folk. Only towards Black folk. And I yield, brother.
And so dealing in World War II,
Mm-hmm.
the Black community was a little bit more skeptical about going out there to get into the war, because they understood what they got from World War I. And this is where Du Bois in his comments to urge you to go try it again, to go be Americans again.
Du Bois is talking about World War I. That's one of the beautiful things about Du Bois is that Du Bois lived for so long. Du Bois does not die until the morning of the March on Washington, and is one of the inside jokes that historians have is that Dr. King killed Du Bois because the last thing that he actually read was that "I Have a Dream" speech. So when you're talking about and I think that It's the reason why the historical context is so important. That when you're talking about the idea of World War II, we got to remember that people fight wars for a lot of different reasons. And that war by Black folk was not fought for patriotic reasons. It's World War II that pulls America out of the Great Depression. So we were trying to get jobs by and large. Now there's some hope that maybe when it ends that we'll be able to improve our status. But the fact that they're fighting under the banner of the Double V campaign is a hell of a sign that they understand that we won't make, and they're committed to not making the same mistake that they made during World War I of coming back and being slaughtered in the streets of America. When we return fighting.
Okay, so and thanks for that correction, Doc. I meant to say the Pittsburgh Courier, because it was the Pittsburgh Courier, if I'm correct, it was the Pittsburgh Courier that launched the Double V campaign, Victory Against Fascism and Fascism Aboard, and Victory Against Racism at Home.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
So,
you have to understand that America actually goes so far because they know that they're going to need Black soldiers' contribution, even though they're still dealing with a segregated army, a Jim Crow army. But they know they need them. They go so far as to create a public relations campaign. And that public relations campaign allows them to actually create the first Black superhero. And they rally behind him. The first Black superhero that the U.S. Army created was actually, many people will say Green Lantern or T'Challa with the Black Panther, but it's actually Captain America. Captain America was used to drum up support amongst Black folk to come and serve in this army because of all of the stink and all the funk that was attached to what happened with all the previous wars, especially their treatment in the post-World War I period.
okay, excellent. You know, I found a video of the returning soldiers thing. So I want to show that before we jump into World War II really quick.
Mm-hmm.
Oops.
Was a regiment of New York Nat.
We are returning from war. The crisis and tens of thousands of Black men were drafted into a great struggle for bleeding France and what she means and has meant and will mean to us and humanity, and against the threat of German race arrogance. We fought gladly and to the last drop of blood for America and her highest ideals. We fought in far-off hope for the dominant Southern oligarchy entrenched in Washington. We fought in bitter resignation for the America that represents and gloats in lynching, disenfranchisement. For this is the hateful upturning and mixing of things. We were forced by vindictive fate to fight also. But today we return. We return from the slavery of uniform, which the world's madness demanded us to don, to the freedom of civil garb. We stand again to look America squarely in the face and call a spade a spade. We sing, this country of ours, despite all its better souls have done and dreamed, is yet a shameful land. It lynches. And lynching is barbarism of a degree of contemptible nastiness unparalleled in human history. Yet for 50 years, we have lynched 2 Negroes a week, and we have kept this upright through the war. It disenfranchises its own citizens. Disenfranchisement is the deliberate theft and robbery of the only protection of poor against rich and black against white. The land that disenfranchises its citizens and calls itself a democracy lies and knows it lies. It encourages ignorance. It has never really tried to educate the Negro. A dominant minority does not want Negroes educated. It wants servants, dogs, whores, and monkeys. And when this land allows a reactionary group by its stolen political power to force as many black folk into these categories as it possibly can, it cries in contemptible hypocrisy. They threaten us with degeneracy. They cannot be educated. It steals from us. It organizes industry to cheat us. It cheats us out of our land. It cheats us out of our labor. It confiscates our savings. It reduces our wages. It raises our rent. It steals our profit. It taxes us without representation. It keeps us consistently and universally poor, and then feeds us on charity and derides our poverty. It insults us. It has organized a nationwide and laterally a worldwide propaganda of deliberate and continuous insult and defamation of black blood wherever found. It decrees that it shall not be possible in travel nor residence, work nor play, education nor instruction for a black man to exist without tacit or open acknowledgement of his inferiority to the dirtiest white dog. And it looks upon any attempt to question or even discuss this dogma as arrogance, unwarranted assumption, and treason. This is the country to which soldiers of democracy return. This is the fatherland for which we fought, but it is our fatherland. It was right for us to fight. The faults of our country are our faults. Under similar circumstances, we would fight again. But by the God of heaven, we are cowards and jackasses if now that the war is over, we do not marshal every ounce of our brain and brawn to fight a sterner, longer, more unbending battle against the forces of hell in our own land. We return. We return from fighting. We return fighting. Make way for democracy. We saved it in France, and by the great Jehovah, we'll save it in the United States of America. Or know the reason why.
Well, I definitely wasn't expecting to hear that. God damn. I mean, America faults are our faults, really? Nah. No, I can't buy that one. And then we're cowards and jackasses if we don't go plead for their democracy instead of saying, look here, come home, build your own schools, build your own businesses, do for self. I wasn't expecting to hear that. I wasn't expecting to hear that one. That was a shocker. I thought he was going to be more reality minded after coming from a war. And as he said, you know, we were being lynched every day of the war. Black people were being lynched. But then you say, then you come back and you say, America faults are our faults. How do you make that to be 100? Because I don't find that to be true at all.
Well, you know, the thing is that it's an argument that is being created with the idea of this land is our land. This is, you know, this is our home. And so operating out of that position, that this is a land that for all intents and purposes is our home. That's where you're getting that argument. And it's in many ways a argument that I find difficult, historically speaking, because it is banking upon the idea that those that are oppressing you have some consideration for you and have a understanding that uplifting you is also uplifting the nation and therefore benefiting them as well. They've never looked at it that way, and they're not going to look at it that way. They're going to look at it through the lens they've always looked at it through, which is quite simply that it is impossible for you to have excellence with Black folk involved in any process, and that's a problem.
I think that, and Jerome, I just want to welcome to the program, but I'll read this comment. This is interesting. He said, I come to believe that the Black man is on parole.
Mhm.
Where is this freedom we were promised? We are not and have not been American.
Mhm.
The World War was Europe versus the Black race. We lost the war. Now, I say this is interesting, where he says that the Black man is on parole. I find that to be very interesting. Ain't heard that one. But then I don't see how the World War was Europe versus the Black race. I don't see that. Do you get that point, Doc?
No, I don't really understand that. I would be able to better understand it if he was talking about in the aftermath of World War II, that you have a situation where you're going to have a mad scramble for Africa, and Africa is going to be carved up. But that's post World War II, where they really get down to the brass tacks of dismantling Akibulan.
Right. Well, maybe that's what he's talking about, because in that aspect, I could understand that as well. And Jerome, if that is what you're talking about, just let us know.
Yeah, he doesn't say World War II. He
Okay.
says the World War.
World
So
War.
he's not constraining his contribution to World War I or World War II. He's talking about the war. I believe the global war has always been Europe versus the Black man.
Okay, gotcha.
Or the Asiatic Black man, as some people.
There you go.
As some people are known to say, the Asiatic Black man.
Excellent. 100% agree. 100% agree. But I would think, Doc, you said after he made that statement, that 2 weeks later he changed his mind.
Mhm.
But in this letter, I don't see a change of mind. I see a commitment to what he spoke prior.
Yeah, but you have to put Du Bois in this. I think that what you're expecting, and it's what many people expect. I think it's natural to expect a linear thought pattern in linear growth, that you would have said this then and you learn from it and it'll be reflected later.
Right.
Du Bois is not necessarily like that. Du Bois is going to try any and every angle to liberate Black folk. And in trying that, he's going to traverse some of the territory that other people will say, well, you should have learned that that's not the way that they're going to behave and act. Well, that may be an analysis for when he was talking about the idea of racial equality and integration. By 1929, 1930, I guarantee you that Du Bois is talking about socialism and communism. Keep in mind, this is the same man who was heated rivals with Marcus Mosiah Garvey, yet is going to end up calling the first major Pan-Africanist conference. So Du Bois is all over the place. You can't look at Du Bois and say, well, yeah, he said this and then he said this and he should have said it. He doesn't operate that way. The man was everywhere, ideologically.
Well, he seems more confused than anything.
Well, but see, once again, you can consider it and analyze it as confusion, but in actuality, what it is a man trying a different angle. You know, maybe if we extenuate this, if we try this, it's just that it's I call it the Nasir Jones complex, which is quite simply Nas being so public and so famous early with his first album, Illmatic. Well, because he's in the public eye now, we get to see everything. We get to see all the mistakes. We get to see all the contradictions and what have you. It's happening literally on Front Street. And so that's in many ways Du Bois, if we're being honest.
Wow. That's really eye-opening. Eye-opening. So dealing with World War II, we had the Tuskegee Airmen, and we had the 761st Tank Battalion, the quote-unquote Black Panthers. They shattered the myths of Black intellectual inferiority and physical inferiority that they claimed that Black people had. But we excelled at everything that we do, like we do on a normal basis. And coming out of that, understanding that, yeah, you're supposed to get the GI Bill, you're supposed to get this, you're supposed to get that, and you didn't get it. You didn't get it. You were bamboozled. You were hoodwinked. You were robbed. You were stolen from. And since this has happened, you don't get that same economic boost that the GI Bill provided for white soldiers. And this GI Bill was the mechanism of the middle class. If we would have received that, honestly, in your opinion, do you think that would have leveled the playing field for Black folks if it would have been all square on the board and enforced to do what it was supposed to do?
No, because the GI Bill it doesn't stand alone. You're operating according to, within the confines of a racist nation. So if you take the GI Bill in and of itself as an independent entity, I could see how people would say, yeah, if we had got the GI Bill, this and well, let's say you do get the GI Bill, and let's say that you go to an HBCU because that's all that was principally going to be available to you, and you graduate with a degree in, let's say, urban planning, something like that. Well, now you got to secure a job, okay, with a government entity that is going to be, and this is being very mild, less than desirous of hiring you. I'll say it that way, that you're marginalized there. And that marginalization that you're going to experience in that arena is going to prevent you from really getting gainful employment that's going to pay you at the level that you deserve to be paid, what your degree and your skills are communicating. But let's say that you did find a job. Okay. So you find this job and it's paying you well, and you're being paid by some miraculous act of God on par with your white counterparts. However, now you got another issue. And that other issue that you got is going to actually be who's going to sell you a house. In what area could you purchase a house? You can't purchase a house that's going to be in the white area. They're not going to sell it to you. You still, this is definitely a moment of racial covenants as far as real estate goes, that it is written into the document that this home, this property can never be sold to a Negro. If you go back and you look at some of these older houses now, they still have racial covenants. You look at Rice University. Rice University, the land for Rice University was given freely, with the understanding that Negroes would never be able to attend there, nor would women. But women got in before Negroes did. White women got in. So you would still be, because you're still operating within the framework of America. You're not operating within a framework where you can actually say, well, yeah, we're going to do woody woo woo woo. No, you can't do those things, because quite simply you're living in a racist nation. So you can get the GI Bill all you want to. You could go and serve your nation admirably and come back with French awards. But you live in America. This is America. And you if you don't believe that racism is going to curtail you in America, I don't know what to tell you. So getting the GI Bill, although a nice thought, and you're correct that it is central to the building and development of what we know as the middle class. However, you'd have still been caged within Black America, even with the GI Bill. It's not going to save you. It's just not.
Wow. Eye-opening. So there we go again, all from the top. So a recap of the honor or cruelty. World War I, World War II, the uniform made you a target.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing a Black man with dignity of a soldier was an affront to the hierarchy of that time.
Yes.
Now, Doc, just real quickly though, how could they come up with that and not say, you serve, you've been through what I've been through, I serve, you a brother?
How?
Yeah. How could they not come up with that? Where was that? Because you not in the exact same foxhole, but you in a foxhole. You know what it's like when them boom, 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 boom is firing down on you. And you see your fellow soldier went through the same damn thing. And you couldn't even give him.
So you saw Negro soldiers go through the same thing white soldiers went through.
Yeah.
You saw that.
I mean, no, I didn't see it because I wasn't there. But they knew they were in the uniform. They knew what they went through.
No, I disagree. Because quite simply, when people have their mind made up that they're going to arrive at a certain decision, they'll jump through hoops to make it there. We see that on a daily basis with contemporary politics. So what they're doing, and this ironically takes us back to Du Bois, and you have to think about studies like the bell curve. We're talking about eugenics, the idea that there is a racial hierarchy between amongst the races, that some are smarter, some are dim-witted, some are courageous, some are not. It's the same type of thinking that led to Black quarterbacks not being allowed to play in the NFL for so long, because you are intellectually inferior. So if you use that as your base, your prejudice and your discrimination, you don't know what the hell they were over there doing. It wasn't what we were doing. I bet they didn't run up a hill and into fire, because they ain't got the courage to do that. So when you don't know a people, you're going to it's Ralph Ellison's The Invisible Man. He says, I'm I'm a man of flesh and blood, but I'm still invisible. Because what people do is they pin on me their prejudice and their discriminatory views. So to hear that black soldiers served admirably for the French, I don't believe that shit. You trying to tell me, let me get this right. You trying to tell me that these people that we know run from battle, when they got over there to Europe, they was all courageous. Because what is your evidence that they're not cowardly? What is your evidence that they think like you think? In many ways, you don't have any evidence like that, because your baseline has been that to denigrate them, that they're really nothing. And the sooner that you understand that they're nothing, the better off you're going to be as a person. You damn sure better not trust them. Because you'll look up and you'll be the only one over there fighting. Trust me, I know what I'm talking about. Can you trust? I mean, really, can you trust a black quarterback to lead you back? When you have that type of doubt in this disdain for black folk, where you're really in many ways questioning if they're human. It reminds me of Du Bois's The Souls of Black Folk. Why does he title his book The Souls of Black Folk? Because they were saying that we were a subspecies and didn't have a soul. So you're fighting against all of that. So you're giving them much too much credit by talking about, well, you know, they know that we went through the same thing. No, they don't. Not in their hearts. Not in their heart of hearts. They don't know that. Because you're not capable of doing that. Why are you sitting up in here lying to these people? You ever met a smart Negro? They probably all just bust out laughing. A Negro ain't got enough sense not to come to our restaurant knowing that we spit in their food. A Negro ain't got enough sense not to shop here, knowing that we would never hire them. Even a mule would have enough sense to get out the way. They ain't even got that. So when that's your base understanding of black intelligence, you're going to make your way somehow to explaining away black excellence. I mean, come on, think about it. You know, a broke clock is right twice a day. I guarantee you that what they're saying happened when they were fighting with the French. That's just French trying to be nice and polite. They didn't do that when they was over here, and totally obliterate and ignore the fact that they weren't allowed to fight when they were there with you.
Wow. Now that is something.
I mean, that's their mentality. That's what they see when they see you. You know, there's a supposition that, and this ties all the way down to affirmative action, ties into DEI, that it's impossible to have black folk involved and have excellence at the same time. The fact that black folk are involved, that means that what? That you didn't curtail the standards. That's how they see the world. And there ain't nothing that you can do about that. Think about it this way. If something goes wrong with a plane, people are going to immediately say, well, you know what? I bet it was the black men who were working on the plane, the mechanics. I bet it was. That's why you can't put them in crucial positions. Okay? You can't, because they don't have the mentality, they don't have the mental dexterity to be able to handle things. Okay? And keep in mind, that message is not just going to black folk, it's all to white folk, it's going to black folk and black children in particular. But if it comes out that it was a white pilot's error that led to the crash, you're not gonna hear them flip it around and say, "Oh, well, next time you get on a plane, oh, what color is the pilot?"
Right.
Now, if the pilot comes out and he's white, oh, okay. But let it been a black pilot. Oh no, I'm not flying with it's tied into, because I believe that our molecular DNA, our cells have memory. And so you're dealing with people who are entering this world from the moment that they were conceived in the womb, whose DNA has been fed negative views and understandings about Black folk. One of my very good friends, his mother is a white lady. Their plumbing went out. He was looking for a plumber. Now they live in the heart of the ghetto. She said, "Don't you call no black man. If you want something done right, you better call a white man." And he said, "Man, I ain't never been that hurt in my life." I'm like, "Well, she's white." And there's some black people who feel that way as well.
Mm, mm, mm. Mm. Wow. Wow. Better wake up. As Earth Angel Remix says, that's the burning hate that the Bible speaks of. That is the burning hate. All right, let's go to our next video.
Farrakhan said the black man died in wars for freedom we ain't even got yet.
Black men died at Pearl Harbor. Black men died in Guadalcanal, in the Solomon Islands,
Listen to him.
in the Philippines, at Iwo Jima. Black men died in North Africa fighting the Germans. Black men died at Anzio Beach,
Listen to him.
at Palermo, at Naples, to free Rome, to free Paris, to free Europe. Damn it!
Damn
We
it.
died
We
to
died.
build America.
Damn it.
And America has rebuilt Germany and Japan, and the nigger is still suffering and dying in the streets
You
of
a
America.
supporter of the channel, much love and respect. If you a hater,
And so the truth that we just heard the minister speak, Doc, that black men died in all those wars, all those conflicts. But the black man at home still has nothing. That's right here to this modern day. So when you're
But Whitey's on the moon. It's just what it is. Let's be honest about it. But Whitey's on the moon.
But Whitey's on the moon. Damn, that was right on time, Doc.
I mean, but Whitey's on the moon. You know what? You know, come on. Come on.
Damn, that was right on time. But Whitey's on the moon.
But Whitey's on the moon. I mean, come on, man. People sit here like they surprised, but Whitey's on the moon. You know good well what the game is. Whitey's on the moon. He ain't concerned with nothing else. He's on the moon. These little problems that you got, your little nigga mind. You can't think about things that he thinks about. Your thoughts, he's like God to you. His thoughts are not like your thoughts. Your little infantile thoughts. They cute and all that, but you ain't going nowhere near the moon. And that's what it comes down to. Whitey's on the moon, man. You know, and don't you forget it.
Exactly. Mm, 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 mm. See, I think I'm gonna have to. For those who don't know what Doc is talking about, I'm gonna see if I can find the video real quick. Do you have it, Doc?
No,
No.
not if, I don't have my big external drive in front of me. No, this is Gil Scott Heron. Whitey's on the moon.
Mhm.
Oh, act like y'all surprised. Y'all know Whitey's on the moon. Went over there and fought them wars so Whitey could get on the moon. That's there ain't no getting around that.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Whitey's on the moon.
He's on the moon.
Yeah.
All right, I found it. I'm gonna play it real quick for those who've never heard it. Here we go.
A lot of people may well see this particular gentleman as someone who makes an appearance either in a supporting or non-supporting role in many of the poems that I do. The truth is that the politics that we discuss are not partisan politics in terms of Democrat or Republican. I am a member of the Common Sense Party. And for the longest count of a time, I have felt as though people who said that they did not care anything about politics or were not interested in it were making a political statement in and of itself. The new poetry that evolved in our society concerned the fact that folks wanted to use both words that people could understand as well as talk about ideas that people could understand. One such poem, at least an early poem of ours that went in that direction, concerned the fact that millions and millions of dollars are continually sent into outer space while we continue to face the same problems here on the ground. Poem said, "A rat done bit my sister Nell with Whitey on the moon, and her face and arms began to swell, and Whitey's on the moon. I can't pay no doctor bills, but Whitey's on the moon. 10 years from now, I'll be paying still while Whitey's on the moon. You know, the man just upped my rent last night because Whitey's on the moon. No hot water, no toilets, and no lights, but Whitey's on the moon. I wonder why he's upping me, because Whitey's on the moon. I was already giving him $50 a week, and now Whitey's on the moon. Taxes taking my whole damn check. The junkies make me a nervous wreck. The price of food is going up. And as if all that crap wasn't enough, a rat done bit my sister Nell with Whitey on the moon. Her face and arms began to swell, and Whitey's on the moon. Was all that money I made last year for Whitey on the moon? How come I ain't got no money here? Whitey's on the moon. You know, I just about had my fill of Whitey on the moon. I think I'll send these doctor bills, air mail special, to Whitey on the moon." We have done a number of songs, we hope, that have strengthened our connection with the third world, because it seems as though oftentimes there are attempts to split us up, divide and conquer, keep us at odds with one another so that we never define the things that we have in common. We have more things in common than we do that separate us. The song that we wrote was about people who are sometimes referred to as aliens, or worse still, illegal aliens. And we have insisted that this is to differentiate them from folks who have come here from Mars legally. And these are folks who in our song come across near Tijuana or the Rio Grande. They're brought into this country by coyotes, people smugglers. They're forced to pay mordida, the bribes, to keep from being turned into immigration. And when they do that, they're called pollos, chickens, ripe for the plucking. Sometimes these folks come into this country with only their dreams of doing better and the clothes they got on their back. And this is what we have in common with them. The reason we get up every day and decide to try it again is because we have dreams of doing better. The song is about holding on to your dreams. We call the song Alien.
All right, that's our brother. And that a very important poem. And I think white folks should definitely understand it as well, because it's the answer to your issues. Seriously, especially for those who are, I'm talking like Doc was explaining earlier in the program. You really have to look and understand what's really being done. And, so with this war that's going on in Iran right now, definitely if the recruiter or you get that letter in the mail, say you got to go to war, go to jail. Jail will be a better spot than going to war.
Did you happen to see the sister? I want to say she was on Facebook, and she is she signed up to serve in the military because she felt she had no other options in life. She's on there flexing. You know how they take all their money and they stack it up and they hold it up. That's what she was doing. Well, the more recent update that she has is she wants out of her military contract, and she had signed for 8 years. And I mean, you want to talk about somebody that was boo-hooing and crying. She's boo-hooing and crying about, yo, I don't want to go. I didn't know that it was any danger involved. But you thought that you was gonna just sign up and pocket these people money, and it ain't working like that. Wow. So she's trying to get out, but I wish her luck that she's able to be able to get out that contract. But she signed up for 8 years. Yeah, I'm sure if you look at YouTube or something like that, one of those social medias, young black girl.
Let me see if I can find it.
Who signed up, and she thought that that it was going to be good, that she could put that money in her pocket and she good to go. But no, it ain't working out that way.
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, she was distraught about not being able to get out.
You said it's on Facebook?
I'm not sure.
Oh, wow. It's not showing up on YouTube. We'll just try Facebook real quick because I would love to see that. It was this thing like...
okay, it's... I don't know what I just did. Okay, it's actually on Instagram. Now, as to how I just sent it to you.
Okay.
On Instagram, it should pop up.
Okay.
Did you receive it?
Yep, I'm about to share screen now.
She received from joining the Army last month, but now she's crying and wants to quit. She decided to enlist because she could not find a stable job. She signed an 8-year contract and agreed to possible overseas assignments and deployment to dangerous areas. At the time, she was excited because she received a signing bonus and believed military life would mostly be safe. But things changed quickly. After tensions and conflict between the United States and Iran recently escalated, she was reportedly told she could be sent to serve in the region. That is when the reality of the situation hit her. She said she suddenly realized she might face real danger and possibly risk her life. Now she says she regrets the decision and wishes she could leave the military. However, leaving is not simple. Once someone signs a military contract and enters service, quitting is not an option. If a soldier refuses orders or tries to leave without permission, they can face serious consequences, including punishment under military law or even a military court. Some people say she should have understood the risks before signing the contract. Others say many young people join the military without fully understanding what they are agreeing to. What do you think? Should it be easier for new recruits to change their mind?
Wow.
The girl was excitedly showing off the money she received from Georgia.
Ain't no way. Now, the other black soldier in this video, I actually responded to her on one of her posts where she was telling people to come out, especially black folks, to come out and join. And it's great. And, you know, you can get all this money and it's all this better, da, 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 da. And I told her, yeah, you only telling half the story. You ain't telling the full load. And when your ass got to go over there in that war and start bang, 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 it's a whole different story. Yeah, a whole damn different story. And you don't want a part of that, you know, but you be telling it to make it look like it's all good and all glamorous, when in the reality, shit, when bullets start to fly and your ass sitting right there, it's a whole different language you're gonna start speaking then. Trust and believe that. Your ass gonna know you speaking in tongues for sure. It's real. It's real. And you know, my whole thing is being there, and it definitely changes you. You're not going to be the same person you was when you left. Totally different. Especially you wind up in that war zone. Totally different. Totally different. And do you really want that? And then imagine you go over there and you done serve in the war zone and you drive and you get pulled over by a racist cop. And he teaches you or shows you that your uniform don't mean shit to him. Mm-hmm. Like so many others that have been done before you.
That's it. No more.
Then the question is, your service that you gave, was it really worth it? Was it really worth it? Don't matter, you can be in your uniform and still get beat up, tased, shot, killed. So is it really worth it? Who is the real beneficiaries of these wars? Who is the real benefit? American people ain't benefiting. Who's the real benefit?
Well, you know,
these are the questions that must be asked.
Yeah, I mean, that statement reminds me of, remember Michael Moore,
mm-hmm.
who did the documentaries? I want to say it was Fahrenheit 9/11.
Exactly.
Where he's talking to the members of Congress and asking them about their children, if their children had served in the war, and not a single one of them. They looked at him like he was crazy. Like, ain't no way I'm sending a child over there. And so in many ways, when you're talking about who's going to benefit from the war, there's something to be said. And I think that this is more of a negative indictment of the American economy than it is anything else, than a promotion of the military. But when you're talking about benefits, you're talking about long-term, as far as being able to retire at the age of 40, if you're fortunate enough. It's a kind of a very sweet deal if you're able to pull that off. Yet at the exact same time, you're gonna be changed during that time. You know, it's going to come at a cost, and that cost is one that most people, like this young lady, didn't really comprehend and don't understand. you can probably find yourself, because I'm not a vet, but I imagine you could probably find yourself in a untenable situation where you're going to be praying to God that you just are able to make it back stateside. And I'm sure that you have some who are the G.I. Joe types who love that type of thing. But if you're not built like that, and if you're not able to take instructions and directions and things and orders, you're going to have a rough time.
A very rough time. A very rough time. I want to show our last video for this evening. And then we can come back and give closing comments. And just as we talked about skip dates, this is another standard.
Nazario was eventually an Army officer is suing 2 Virginia police officers after they pepper sprayed and handcuffed him during a traffic stop. This morning, there's also growing outrage after body camera footage of the traffic stop was released. The 2 officers can be heard threatening Karen Nazario before pulling out their guns and pepper spraying him. The Windsor, Virginia officers say they stopped the Army second lieutenant for missing a rear license plate, even though he had a temporary plate taped to the back of his new SUV. Here's a clip of some of the footage.
I'm honestly afraid to get out. Can I? Yeah, you should be. Get out. Get out of the car. Get your hands off me, please. Get your hands off me. Get your hands off me. Get your hands off me. I didn't do anything. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Nazario was eventually released with no charges, but now he's suing the officers for violating his constitutional right. One of the officers said in a report after the traffic stop that Nazario willfully disregarded their orders to pull over, but the lawsuit says he waited less than 2 minutes to stop.
And so, of course, the police officer didn't get charged. He did get fired, but he didn't get charged, neither one of them. And he got the black officer got read the riot act. Now, he was an officer. He wasn't a NCO, but he was an officer. So, but they treated him, as I said earlier, nigga, please, you hear what I tell you to do, you better get your ass out and do it, or else. So, these are the realities of America.
Yes.
These are the realities. And I think that when you're weighing the decision of joining the military to go fight a foreign war, these are some of the complications that you got to figure out and ask yourself, is it worth it?
Yeah.
Is it worth it? And I told all mine, y'all not going nowhere. Y'all not going nowhere. It's not worth it for y'all to go out there and give your lives. It's one thing if the country would give something for your lives. But if they don't stand up for your freedoms right here, then you're going to fight for something that you have no idea, and it ain't benefiting you. And these are the questions. And Doc, really, with this new generation that we're dealing with, when they eventually come to power, I don't know what the hell is going to happen. I'm serious. I don't know what the hell is going to happen. It's like, God damn, what's going on here? I don't know what's going to happen. There's no competence.
None. None whatsoever.
What the hell done happened?
Look here. Life has become very convenient for people. And, just dealing with what's occurring in the classroom, these kids are not, the vast majority of these kids are not interested in even reading, let alone learning anything. They feel that they can slide through, they can do chat GPT or some type of artificial intelligence, print something out, and they can hand it to you and give me my grade. I received a paper that was supposed to be about the autobiography of Malcolm X that I know the young lady didn't read. She didn't write that. And not only did she not write it, she didn't read it. At one point of the paper, it says that Malcolm Floyd was killed in the streets by an officer kneeling on him.
Malcolm Floyd.
I'm reading, I'm like, Malcolm Floyd? Who is Malcolm Floyd? It's supposed to be about Malcolm X. So you didn't use some type of artificial intelligence to go ahead and just put a paper together, and they probably just piecemeal together the a racial incident and put Malcolm instead of George Floyd. It's Malcolm Floyd.
Mm.
So the idiocy, the nonsense. Like MC Light said, not a good policy. It's who they are and who they've been allowed to be. The idea of hard work, of showing up every day. No, they want it fast. They want it easy, and it's a problem, and it's going to become a bigger problem. One of my students said this to me once. He said, yeah, because I got a problem with people being on their cell phones and things like that all day long. And he said, yeah, Doc, yeah, I hear you that we on our cell phones a lot. He said, but you wait till my brother and them get here. They don't get off of their phones even during dinner with the family. They would rather not eat than to have to put that phone down. And that's a problem. What do you do with that as a parent?
Earth Angel says, what did you say to her?
Nothing, because the situation is that she issued a great complaint against me. That I had treated her unfairly. Now she missed an exam and she didn't turn in that paper. And so I graciously allowed her to do those things, and she AI'd it. And turn in a paper about Malcolm Floyd.
Wow.
Whoever Malcolm Floyd is.
Wow.
There you go. What can you do with it? No interest in learning. None whatsoever.
Wow. On Malcolm Floyd.
Malcolm Floyd. I'm reading it like, man, who in the world is Malcolm Floyd? When they were talking about nailed on the neck or the back or whatever, I said, this is about George Floyd. Malcolm Floyd. It's George Floyd. So either you're comprehensively ignorant, or you just printed that out and walked it over and turned it in.
Exactly.
So what can you do with that?
Wow.
And this is the generation that Abe Lincoln warned about. When Lincoln said America will never fall from an external aggressor, she'll fall from within. That's what we're watching. America crumble and fall. The intellectual infrastructure of America is no longer in existence. And anybody who has an ounce of a brain saw this coming. When you had to go and get foreign workers because your workers here did not have the necessary skills, or you didn't want to hire them because you could get the work done cheaper by bringing in other people on visas, you cut your own throat slowly. The problem that we really don't want to ever talk about is that the harsh reality is that for non-poor and working class people, there is no such thing as American patriotism. None whatsoever. The elites are looking at padding their pockets what's the most assured and expeditious way that they can make money, operating out of the great ethos of the best thing that you can do for the poor is not to become one. So who cares if if the world looks at you as a grifter? Who cares? You got the money. They brother on who made national news. The bank deposited $1 million in his account, and he refused to give it back. So they sentenced him to a year in prison. So the question becomes, would you do a year in prison for $1 million? He chose to.
Exactly. Wow. And I guess it's his money now.
They couldn't retrieve it. He took it out the bank. The brother was Johnny on the spot as soon as it opened up. What? Oh no, I got to get mine.
Wow.
Got to get mine, yeah. So this is a world that unfortunately it's about money. Who has it, and how do you go ahead and get it from them? Is that?
Wow, interesting. All right, closing comments, Doc.
Just happy that I'm here. I will make the public confession that we would have been here on Sunday, but I'm on spring break, and I'm a worker. So if anything changes in my day, in my week, that I ain't got to go to work, I don't even know what day of the week it is no more. So that's why we were a no-show yesterday, because I had no idea it was Sunday. I've just been chilling and enjoying life to the point where some people are like, you ain't even went out the house. You're right. I ain't went out the house. I took the trash out and I went and got the trash can. Ain't that enough? I heard they killing people outside. I ain't going out there if I ain't got to. So glad to be back. Glad to be building with you, man. And
definitely.
So
definitely. Yes, sir. Definitely. And, like we always say to everybody, we thank you all for watching. Please definitely like, share, subscribe, and continue being Black first. As we always say, you kill the nigga in you, I'm going to kill the nigga in me, and our God will reign supreme. We are Black first. Today, tomorrow, and forever. Love you, family. Peace and blessings. Assalamu alaikum. Shalom.
So you better get the message and get it straight. You're going to need some bridge work. It's simple as that. Because we're living in judgment. We're living in implementation.